All right, what's going on, everybody? I'm Blitz5 and hope you guys are doing well. And I wanted to make a video about this recent post that launched earlier this morning on May 17, 2022. This is a dev letter for Animation Refresh. And of course, you can read this. It's a fairly quick article, maybe not worth a YouTube video. But the reason why I like to make this content is because PUBG sometimes has an issue getting this out to the broader community. This is posted on their website, but I don't know how many people that visit PUBG.com. And if you don't follow PUBG on Twitter or some of their social media platforms, it's hard to see this kind of information. So if you're interested in this stuff, I recommend following PUBG on Twitter or following myself at Blitz5 on Twitter. Twitter is a great place for the gaming community, believe it or not. I have a very positive experience over there. And you can see the latest and greatest information, including dev letters like this one. So the gist of this post is fairly simple, that PUBG is working on improving the animation of the game. And you might say to yourself, well, there's so many things we want improved. Why are they working on this? And we're going to talk about that a little bit later after I show you guys what's being worked on here. So we have two major things that PUBG is showing off here. And this is FPP motion and then TPP character motion as well. And they explain here in the article that the changes are intended to make the game look more realistic, feel more realistic, but not actually change the way the game plays. So they show that the timing is still the same. They don't want to mess with any of that stuff because think about it. We've been playing for so many years now, 4 or 5 years. If you change the timing of something in the game, that's going to throw off all the veteran players and really kind of mess with things. So I know PUBG sometimes makes weird decisions, but I do think PUBG does a great job sticking to the player base and like kind of the classic vibe of things. So you guys can disagree with that if you want, but I do think they do a good job of doing that for the most part. So the first thing we're going to look at here, I'm going to zoom in and I might even have to move my camera here so you guys can make sure we see all of this. I think it might be too zoomed in for the PUBG website. Okay, I can only really pick which way I'm going to go here. So hopefully you guys can see this. We have the legacy on the side, and then we have the refurbished on the right. Kind of a weird way to show this, but what we're going to see is you'll notice when the character reloads, which right here, the reload is covering more of the screen. So the gun is coming up more. And then there's more weapon sway and stuff like that in between the guns. You're going to notice kind of a weird reload on the Car9. I'm guessing this is probably more realistic because if you watch the Legacy, the gun just is static and the clip is going in. But on the right, you can see the K9 is kind of going in circles there. It's almost a little distracting. So some of the first initial thoughts I saw from people were that this is going to, block where enemies are and all that stuff and be annoying or be distracting. But, I guess it is a little bit more realistic and it's not that big of a difference. I think it looks like more of a difference because the refreshed version is a little bit bigger. But basically this is the comparison. I guess we can zoom into this length. This is actually pretty good here. So you can see some of the differences here. Again, I don't think there's really anything with the pistol. Hard to notice any bit of a difference. I guess you're running with the pistol a little higher up. Shooting, go for the reload. You notice a pretty big difference. The gun goes up all the way to the top of the tooltips there, when in their legacy version, it barely goes up. So it's definitely going to cover more of your screen, which I guess is a negative, but it will look more realistic. And then the K9 again, you'll see the gun is kind of shaking there more as you're reloading, which again is more realistic. And then we go down here and we'll show off the TPP motion. And I wonder, if there's other things. A lot of time, again, PUBG is also kind of bad sometimes at, they'll make like patch notes and they'll include so many things in the update, but then they'll leave a few things out. And PUBG does that fairly often. I know it's hard to include every little detail, but this is coming in an update soon. So there will probably be more information. I think this is just kind of like a teaser. So you're going to see here as the character slides, there's a lot more, it's a lot more realistic in how the character's weight distribution is moving. And they were saying that was a big thing for them, how in the game, you kind of just stop on a dime and not very realistic, or you kind of shuffle left and right and you're just moving left and right, more robotic, when now you can see kind of more of a weight transfer in the character. In the refresh version, you can see when the character stops, they kind of lean backwards more, like what you would do after you've been running kind of fast instead of just stopping. And again, but the shuffle, you're definitely moving a lot more. But I think honestly, you could say it's distracting, but after you did this for a little while, I think you wouldn't even notice it in the game. So for me, in my opinion, to share my thoughts, I think this is a net positive into the game. A lot of people, one of their biggest complaints is that the game is, seems outdated. The movement is wrong. And I know this isn't affecting the movement, but I think this could I mean, make it appear like the movement is more next gen or more current era of gaming if it looks more realistic. So I think people have to take that into consideration, that PUBG's always trying to polish the game and improve it a little more, year by year or month by month. And then also, I'm wondering, just from like a conspiracy theory out here, putting this out in the ether, I don't know if this is true, but I wonder if new movement is coming. I think they've talked about that it is, and they need new animations before the movement, right? Because you can't, I'm not saying they should do this or that they are, but say, for example, PUBG decides they want to put in a role mechanic into the game, which is in PUBG Mobile. It would be pretty weird to have a roll mechanic with our old movement, right? It's not realistic at all. You're just running and then you go roll. So maybe they're building in these new animations to eventually implement new movement or new features in the game that will work along with this. Or it could simply just be at face value and be them trying to improve the game a little bit here, a little bit there. And you also have to remember, I know PUBG would say this, that they have a lot of different departments working on a lot of different things. So it's not always, only one team can work on improving the game, optimizing the game. Other teams can work on stuff like this or new content and stuff like that. So just keep that in mind. I think this could lead to something in the future. And for all the PUBG nuts out there, I just wanted to make sure I shared this with you guys so you could see what's coming into the game. No exact date on this. It just said coming soon. And obviously, as always, subscribe to the channel if you guys want to stay up to date with the latest and greatest video game news and PUBG news. And if you want to catch any of the action live, I'm always playing PUBG over on Twitch at twitch.tv/Blitz5 and friends, playing console and PC during the updates and stuff like that. So as always, thank you all for watching. I'm Blitz5 and peace out.